Virtual Unit Peer Leader Annual Training, developed in consultation with earlymobility.com. This module is one of a bundle of modules intended to assist you with your unit peer leader training. The modules include what it means to be a unit peer leader, roles and responsibilities of being a unit peer leader, mobility screening, how to perform and use the VA Mobility Screening and Solutions Tool, or the VA MSST, building mobility into daily care, how safe, early, and continuous mobility, or SECM, can actually save you time throughout your day, equipment review, lifts and slings, key considerations for purchasing, equipment fares, and sustainability of your program, crucial conversations, understanding and overcoming conflict and resistance to improve compliance in your program, and how to be the most effective educator that you can be, getting the most out of training and education. This module is on crucial conversations, understanding and overcoming conflict and resistance to improve compliance in your safe early continuous mobility program. earlymobility.com does not endorse any one product or product vendor and does not sell any SPHM technology. The videos used for these modules are purely representative of the types of SPHM assistive technologies that are available. There are many versions of all the assistive technologies in the videos. Check with your SPHM facility coordinator or program manager to determine the model you have in your facility. The learning objectives of this module are to identify 3 elements that determine if a conversation is a crucial conversation, to identify 3 scenarios in the role of being a unit peer leader that could trigger crucial conversations. What are the tough things that you need to talk about as a unit peer leader? And third objective is to discuss 3 strategies to help you effectively resolve some of these crucial conversations. Culture change is hard. We know this, you live it every day. Because why? People are messy. People bring all kinds of different things with them to the job they're doing today, their past experience, their beliefs, their values, their attitudes, their emotions. And all of these things affect our behavior. If we think about beliefs, these are not what's written in our policy. These are what the employees actually believe about this program, or about safety, or about patient mobility. And they come from a range of personal experiences. The values that each person holds to be the most important. For example, is safety more important than time? Time is probably one of our most precious commodities. And often time will trump safety. We have to understand the values and the messages that we are sending in our healthcare setting, in our management structure, in the way we prioritize, in our expectations, because these are sending unintended value beliefs that we don't always think about. Attitudes. Attitudes can be positive or negative or ambivalent, which is really an unpredictable attitude. We know when somebody has a positive attitude, we can spot it, we can feel it when somebody comes into a room, right? The same with a negative attitude. We know it, we can feel it, it's palpable. We can strategize and we can understand those attitudes, we can recognize them. But the ambivalent or unpredictable attitude, the flat affect, where we really don't know what somebody's thinking, we don't know whether they are on board, we don't know whether they're secretly just thinking about what they're going to have for dinner tonight or what they're going to do this weekend, that's a little harder for us to manage. And then we have our emotions. We all bring emotions to the table. And this is just part of being a human being, right? Did we have a fight with our kids before we came to work today, or our spouse or significant other? Are we worried about something? Is there something on our mind that is distracting us and raising our emotions that's completely unrelated to safe patient handling or early mobility? But it impacts how that person perceives everything, including this program. Behavior. Behavior is really just a collection of actions resulting from this change cycle that you see on this slide. We have to change behavior by changing the inputs. So if somebody values time more than safety, we have to be able to show them how being safe can actually save them time. We have to do the work to show them where that's costing them time. For example, if a patient falls, that takes us a whole lot of time in terms of paperwork, a post-fall huddle, the extra time to care for that patient who's now afraid or now in pain. Or perhaps they've suffered a fracture, a contusion, a laceration, an injury as a result of that fall. All of those things not only are high cost for the patient, but they cost us time and care. But we have to start making those connections for people. So we have to change the inputs if we're going to change the output. The ultimate output is the behavior, which then creates the culture on our unit or in our facility. The gift of culture awareness through conflict. Who thought that conflict could be a gift? But it actually is. When people tell us things like, no one listened to my voice in making these decisions or these changes. This is the way we've always done it. We're already too busy. Why do you want me to do one more thing? Change projects are never sustained. It's just the flavor of the month, right? Just another new program that they're throwing at us. They are throwing at us. Pay attention to these comments because they are gifts. They help you understand what your co-workers, what your peers, what your unit peer leaders are hearing, or what they are perceiving that they heard. We're going to talk a lot about this in this module. Communication is such an important part of success of any program, including your safe patient handling and early mobility. Every time we get a new leader in, they want to change everything. What's wrong with the way we have things now? Things are working. This goes back to not being listened to. I don't have time for that. No one helps me. Why should I help them? All of these things tell you slightly differently or in different ways what you can do as the leader to help overcome them. No one helps me. Why should I help them? This speaks to a low or poor level of teamwork. If this is the case, we've got to do a little bit of focusing on teamwork within our team. We've got to talk to our unit managers, pull in our unit-based educators, help come together and say, we have an issue here with teamwork. We need to do a better job of this. This is the way we've always done it. This tells you that this person doesn't see a problem with the status quo or is fearful of change. We'll get into that more a little bit in our effective educators module. But the way we communicate this makes a big difference in terms of how open people are to receiving the message that we have to share. As facility coordinators, as unit peer leaders, as program managers, your message is so very important for your co-workers and for your veterans. But if we say it in ways that are confrontational, or our listeners are not ready to hear us for any number of reasons, the message can get lost and we can get frustrated. Verbal and non-verbal communication. Sometimes what we say with our non-verbal completely contradicts what we've said verbally. Think about this statement. You do a really good job, but. Now, whatever comes after that but has just negated the first part of that statement, right? You do a really good job, but. Okay, here it comes. What am I not doing? And all we hear is what we're not doing. In this picture here, the employee, this is not healthcare. The employee does not look real happy. What do we think the supervisor, who has a beautiful MTV television t-shirt on, what do we think that supervisor is communicating to the employee? He's pointing to his watch, isn't he? Do we think he's saying, hey, Tim, we only have an hour left till happy hour. Hurry it up. From Tim's face, I'm thinking maybe not. If you look carefully at the machine, you will see that the guard, the safety guard, is flipped up on this machine. The employee is taking shortcuts. The manager, the supervisor here is communicating, hurry it up. We need to get more units done. We're under quota. So what we're saying and communicating here is time is more important than safety. The correct message would have been, hey, Tim, that is not a safe way to do that task. Please put that safety guard down. Tim may say, well, with the safety guard down, it's an extra step. I might not get as many units per minute per hour. If we're focusing on safety, Tim, your safety is more important than how many units we produce. What's being communicated is what is being communicated is time is more important. Now, one of the big initiatives across the VA right now is high reliability. Every VA has a high reliability officer. One of the industries that we look at to model high reliability on is commercial aviation, an inherently high risk industry that has relatively very few safety incidences, considering how high risk and the frequency and volume of flights every single day. Can you imagine what might happen to the safety checks if pilots were paid by how many flights they can get back and forth from California to New York in a day? If I can squeeze in 1 or 2 more flights, people will recognize me as a really good pilot. People will recognize me as the best pilot in the industry, and I'll earn more money. What would happen to those pre-flight safety checks that every single pilot is required to do, whether they are 5 minutes out of flight school or they're a 40-year veteran? Everybody does the same safety check. The reason I bring this up here, you're wondering, why are we talking about industry and aviation? Is because we have to challenge ourselves in healthcare. Are we sending the wrong message? We have to speak with our management about safety. We have to be advocates for safety and understand the nonverbal communication and the messages that we're sending when we don't allow teams to get enough time to do training on new equipment, when we only train one time and they're expected to be proficient, when we're trying to cut timing of training down from 2 hours to 20 minutes. We have to be the advocates for safety. That can be really, really hard. And that's why sometimes when we talk about these crucial conversations today in this module, you'll learn about some of these scenarios that are set up as crucial conversations. There are several conflict scenarios frequently encountered by unit peer leaders, and many of you will be able to relate to these. Patients refusing to use equipment, managers or unit peer leader conflict about competing roles needed for success on your unit. This can include things like attending meetings and training events, time, co-worker conflict around using equipment. I don't have time. We learned about some of these in the previous slides. We're going to show an example now of a patient not wanting to use a lift and what that might look like. And we're going to do a compare and contrast of what a conflict scenario may look like, and then perhaps a different way of approaching this subject. All right, Jen, it's time to get up for lunch, okay? You know the scoop. Let's go ahead and sit up over the side of the bed. Okay, good. All right, remember what's next? Hey, I bet you're hungry, huh? Okay, great. Stretch your leg out. Good. That one. Great. Can you go ahead and stand up for me? All right. Oh, no, not good, huh? Okay, all right. Swing your legs up back into bed for just a second. I'm gonna go and get the lift.
No, don't want that at all.
No. Well, it's better for you. You know what? Swing those legs up just for a second. Just hop back into bed for a moment. Watch the patient's facial body language. So, you're not to stand up by yourself, Jen. I want to make sure that I'm safe, you're safe, and the lift is the way to go with that.
But I had trouble before. They tried last night, and no, I'm not going to use it.
Well, let me just go get it. I think once you get in it, you'll see that it's the best way, Jen, okay? That's the safest way to do it for everybody. So go ahead and lay back and I'll go and get the lift and we'll give it a shot. She's not very happy, is she? That didn't go very well, right? We set up the conflict. The use of the lift was the right thing to do, but I did not listen to the patient. Didn't give it a chance, did not explain or resolve the conflict. Let's have a look at another way of handling this situation. And maybe as you watch this, you can even think of an even better way that you might handle this conversation or this conflict. But the goal is to approach the scenario in a way that everybody feels heard and it is safe for you and safe for the patient. All right, Jan, it's time to get up for lunch. And you know the scoop. Okay, good. Ready? Yeah, you gotta be hungry. You've been working out. Good. Okay, stretch your leg out. Okay, the other one. Let's see if you can stand. No? All right. Okay, let's get you back into bed. I'm gonna go ahead and get the lift, Jan. We're gonna get you up to the chair with the lift.
No.
No?
No. I've tried that before.
Tell me, Jan, what happened the last time you used the lift?
Fail.
You fell?
Yes, ma'am.
That must have been awful. That must, yeah, I can imagine that you wouldn't want to get up in it.
Scared me.
I bet it did, yeah. Can you remember what kind of lift you used?
No.
Can you tell me more about it? What happened?
Well, they put me in one that kind of come around me. And then when I stood up, then it was up under my armpits.
Oh.
And that hurt. And then I fell.
Okay.
And I thought my arms was coming off.
That must have been horrible. I'm really sorry that that happened to you. But what I'd like to do, Jan, is I'd like to try a different sling, and it sounds like that sling kind of rolled up a little bit.
Very.
When you were kind of like this when it tried to stand you up. I think I know what happened. We have some slings that will actually go through your legs and it will attach to the same lift. So it sounds like maybe it wasn't the lift that was the problem, but maybe the sling was a little big for you and it rolled up. So what if we were to try the other sling that goes through your legs, and that will not ride up when we use the lift. It will not go into your armpits. Do you think maybe you'd be prepared to try that a little bit?
Try it.
Okay, and you know what? If at any point you feel that it's not comfortable or you feel scared in it, you let me know and we'll reevaluate, okay?
Okay.
All right. Jen, listen, thank you for telling me about that, because it's really, really important that you feel secure when we use lift equipment. And I know you had mentioned earlier that 2 people on night shift last night came in and kind of lifted you up and you liked that better. But the problem is that can cause shoulder problems too. And one of the things that's really important to us is that we're safe for you and safe for the caregivers, so that we're not lifting and nurses are not hurting their backs either. All right, so I appreciate you trying with me.
let's get the sling and we'll give that a shot, okay?
We'll try and see what happens.
Okay, great. How does that feel right now?
Uncomfortable.
Is anything pinching you?
No.
Okay. Margaret is here also, because anytime we move away from the bed, even with a lift, we want to have two people, all right? I'm going to hit the up button. You're going to feel it cooling up. If you feel that that's pinching you or riding up at all, you let me know and we'll stop, okay? Ready? Here we go. The straps are underneath your bottom, so it shouldn't ride up. How does it feel?
Fine.
Feels okay?
Not tight.
Not tight? Is it pinching you anywhere? And if you let your knees buckle a little bit so you can see, even if you fall like you did yesterday, I want you to feel confident. What do you think?
I think this is okay.
You're okay working with this? Super. I'll put a note in your chat that we're going to use this one with you with the straps under your legs.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again for letting me know. Okay, great.
So let's talk about what it was in the different way of doing this that made the difference for the patient.
What we had to do was recover Jan's trust in using the equipment. And the acronym we use is HEART. H is to hear. So you'll notice the first time I didn't listen to why she was so resistant. She said no, I said yes. Immediately we had a power struggle. But by doing the HEART acronym, I took the time to just listen to what she said, to hear her concern, and ask her why. What happened, Jan? Tell me about that. Those are ways that you can open up that conversation. You're doing a mini root cause analysis, because if you don't get to the root of that, then you're going to lose the patient's trust and the patient experience is going to be sacrificed. Yes, you might get them in the lift, but that's not going to be a good scenario for trust or for the patient feeling like they've been listened to. The E is to empathize. Gosh, Jan, that must have been terrible for you. I can imagine that would have hurt. I wouldn't want to use a sling again either if that happened to me. Those are ways that you can just tell her that you understand and she feels heard. So that's hear, empathize. The third thing is apologize. Jan, I'm really sorry that that happened to you. You're not saying it was your fault. You're just acknowledging that something bad happened to her and you're sorry that she had that experience. Again, this is about building trust and building relationship because they are much more likely to trust you, to trust the equipment, and to work with you when they feel like you care about them. The R is to resolve or respond. So I was able to offer a different solution for a sling that went through her legs instead of the ones that would ride up. And again, this is about knowing your equipment, knowing what's available and what options you have. Many of the sit to stand lifts do have slings where there is an option for them to have a leg strap that comes through. And if not, that's definitely something to look into. She was prepared to work with me because I gave a different solution for her. She was guarded and she was tentative, and rightly so. We have to respect that if a patient has had a bad experience, they are not going to trust. We have to re-earn their trust again for us, and also the equipment has to re-earn their trust again. So that's why taking it step by step and letting her know if at any point you want me to stop, I will. Showing her, asking her continuously, and she was able to see that even when her legs buckled, that did not ride up. So we tested the new solution. She tentatively agreed to try it. We tested it to make sure that basically she needed to affirm that I knew what I was doing, that I was telling her the truth. If she had tried that and it rolled up into her arms and I said, come on, let's just do it again, it won't happen again, and it happens a second time, we've lost that patient. And then thank the patient. So the last letter of the acronym is T. thank the patient for bringing it to your attention. This is also how we identify near misses and how we can step in when there has been an event. Maybe the patient didn't get hurt. These are not going to show up on your adverse events. They're not going to show up on your falls because you just refused to get up. If we send in the 2 young nurses who lifted her up yesterday, if they did not get hurt, that is not going to show up on employee report, injury report. But it will show up as a near miss if we ask the patient. And so we're thanking them because we are now able to intervene and train other staff on what sling to use. Perhaps the other staff didn't know that those slings were available. So it's an opportunity for us to improve our training, improve the knowledge, the skill, and then those little touches are going to improve your program. And it comes from hearing, empathizing, apologizing, responding, and thanking. And sometimes the negative experiences or the resistance is a gift. When we approach it in the heart way, that gives us information that is gold. So again, don't shy away from resistance. Understand that it's an opportunity for us to learn how we can further improve the program. What
You can use heart with really any of the resistance scenarios that you come across as a unit peer leader or a facility program coordinator or program manager. In this video, we're going to look at a different scenario where we have an actor being a unit peer leader, and I'm playing the role of the facility coordinator or program manager. Can you identify with anybody in this video?
Okay, yeah. Listen, you weren't at the last unit peer leader meeting last week or last month? Yes. Can you make sure that you make it next Tuesday? We've got some new equipment that we're going to be reviewing. And it's really important that you make it to the meeting so that you can then show the other people on your unit.
I definitely understand, and I'll talk to Mrs. Russell and I'll make sure I'm there.
Okay, thanks. All right, appreciate it. Okay.
Come on in. Hi, Tim. Mrs. Russell, do you have a moment? Yeah, have a seat. Thank you. Just wondering if I can talk to you real quick. We have a unit peer leader meeting this at noon, and I was wondering if I could attend it.
Today.
Yes.
Did I know about this?
You did. They're once a month, and I missed last month, and I was late the month before.
Okay.
And I ran into Beth, and she really needs me to be there because of missing last month and being late before. Okay. We have new equipment coming.
Is this back in? Couple things here. Kim, I can't let you off the floor right now. We just got call-offs, we're short-staffed, patient care comes first. I can't.
I understand. Okay, can you at least put me on the schedule to go next month?
I'm gonna write it down.
Okay,
Can you remind me
I will.
a couple days before?
I will.
Okay,
I will, because I want to be able to attend those.
okay. And it's the same time and
Same time. It's once a month.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
you're welcome. Ben,
Russell, do you have a moment?
Kim,
Thank you.
how are you doing?
Good. I just wanted to touch base with you and remind you that I had the UPL meeting this afternoon. Is at noon?
Today.
It is. I know we're short staffed, but is there?
And what's going on in the meeting
We're
today?
getting new equipment, and actually this equipment would be so helpful. It kind of would have helped in the scenario with Mrs. Jones. All be found.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let me think. I had a call off, but you know what, at morning report, I heard that 3D had a few more CNAs than they really needed. Let me call Sue over there and see if I can't do something.
And that would be great, and keep in mind, or have them know that if they're ever short-handed, I would be willing to stay
Right.
on the too.
We definitely will do that. Hold on. Sue. Hey, it's Margaret. Is there any way you can send over one of your extra CNAs to cover for Kim for that UPL meeting today? Great, as soon as possible. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Okay, yeah, we can't forget that we need to reciprocate.
I agree, I agree. But can we also put it on the calendar again for
Yes.
next month?
Yes, I'm
And-
writing it down right now.
And I'll just even remind you maybe a couple days before. And again, if they ever
Please.
need help, just let me know and I'll make sure that I'm available for them.
No, I'm gonna put it out there right now.
All right,
Thank you. Let me know what goes on.
I will. I'll
Okay.
stop by right after it's done.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
thank you.
So a very different way from both parties, the manager and the unit peer leader, hearing each other, respecting each other, empathizing with what the scenario is. Kim was able to empathize with the manager that I know we're short-staffed. The manager listened about the importance of the meeting and recognized that it was a valuable meeting. They resolved the situation and then thanked one another. Now, I understand this might not always be the way it goes. You might be looking at this video going, that's not going to happen. We're never going to have extra staff from another unit. We're never going to have that conversation with that manager. But recognize where those conflicts can arise and find ways to resolve them. If it is a manager who doesn't understand the value of the meetings, remember that culture cycle? Go back to the beliefs, go back to the values, ask that unit manager if they understand what the equipment can do and why the training is so important and what you're going to be doing at your monthly meetings. They don't understand the value, or perhaps they are overburdened, and you can help them understand how using the equipment can help with staffing, can help reduce the number of caregivers, can reduce falls, can reduce pressure injuries, can reduce the amount of time that your manager is spending trying to fill positions because people are working, hurt, or calling in. So by understanding how your program helps the manager, the unit peer leader, your co-workers, everybody involved, you can then become the liaison that helps make that happen, and you can help engage that resistance. What are crucial conversations and how do we know that they're crucial? Well, a crucial conversation has been defined by a conversation where the outcome is really important or has a strong impact. The stakes are high. They are emotionally charged, and there are opposing opinions. If we're all in agreement, there's no crucial conversation, there's no conflict. It's also crucial where the outcome of that is really important. The outcome of a unit peer leader knowing equipment or not knowing equipment can be a safety occurrence for either a caregiver or a patient. That's a high stakes conversation. And then emotionally charged is where sometimes you have authority structures or conflicts, or you have personality conflicts, or you've got somebody who doesn't want to change and somebody who's trying to promote the change. These are all what we call emotionally charged conversations. And the reference for our crucial conversations is Vital Smarts, and their website is presented here. Crucial conversations are, in fact, crucial because the outcome of these conversations is really important. There is a human condition that we all possess, and it's called truth versus loss of friendship, likability or acceptance. We're all happy to tell the truth and to be honest about how we're feeling when the person we're talking to agrees with us and holds the same beliefs. But sometimes, if we are in a crowd of people and they believe one thing and we believe something else, truth sometimes gets compromised. This is why peer pressure is such a problem in our teenager group. But peer pressure can also be an issue in our workplaces. When everybody else is complaining about something, for us to stand up and say, well, I actually see it differently. That can be challenging because it's human nature to go with the flow. But in order to achieve safety, we have to see things a little bit differently. We have to muster that courage to speak up, but how we do it can make all the difference in the world. Crucial conversations are necessary because achieving goals requires change. Think about weight loss goals. You can't lose weight if you don't change your eating habits. You can't get in shape and healthier if you don't change your exercise habits. But change is hard. Crucial conversations are necessary because opinions differ. Our stories differ. Our perspectives and expectations are different. But if we master this skill, crucial conversations can build trust and establish connection and build your team. How do you recognize when a conversation has become crucial? You can feel the emotion of a situation, right? You feel that visceral response. Your stomach can turn in knots. Your chest might feel tight. You can feel your shoulders stiffen. You feel your face getting flushed. That's the fight or flight response. Somebody in that feels threatened. You can feel it. If you know you've got to address an issue with somebody that typically doesn't handle conflict well and doesn't necessarily like to be told what to do or challenged in any way, shape, or form about the way they do their job, if we have to address something, man, you can feel it. Some of you might be feeling that emotion right now, just with us talking about it in this module. This is how we know that this conversation will be emotionally charged. The dialogue model is part of this whole crucial conversations model. When we have a pool of shared meaning, when we can both be at the same point and be at a stage where we are in agreement about our beliefs and about what we want the outcome to be, that is what we call the safe zone, where effective dialogue and effective change can happen. Either side of that, we have myself. I observe things, my observations, my beliefs, my values, my attitudes, my emotions that I bring with me to this conversation. I'm going to observe the way I perceive things to be. I'm going to tell myself a story about the situation. I'm going to feel a certain way. I'm going to act a certain way. Most of this is subconscious and I just react. But here's the thing, so does the other person. They have their own beliefs, values, expectations, emotions, all the stuff they drag to work with them today. They're going to observe this scenario from their perspective. They're going to tell their story to themselves. They're going to feel and act in their particular way. For us to be able to keep the dialogue in that safe zone, we must be able to recognize that and appreciate in each other that these things are going on, and then come to a point of agreement. And we might need to step back and step back and step back until we can come to a point where we are on the same page. If we find one or the other, yourself or your counterpart, moving into silence or violence, we have moved out of the safety dialogue zone, and effective communication and exchange of ideas will not happen. Silence looks like withdrawing, avoiding, masking. We'll learn a little bit more about this in a little bit. Violence looks like controlling, labeling, attacking. Some examples of silent withdrawal: using sarcasm or sugarcoating something. Everything's fine. We're good. Don't need to talk about this anymore. Yep, got it. That is silence. You've moved into withdrawal. You are not engaging. Changing the subject, shifting focus to others or something different. Exiting the conversation or the room. Another example of silent withdrawal, which is ineffective communication. Yep. I know, you're right. Yep, I know. Yeah, I got it. Do we recognize that behavior? Totally closed, totally sarcastic. I don't got it. I don't agree with you, but I'm withdrawing from the communication, and you can tell by my nonverbal and my facial expression and the tone of my voice, right? This is not an effective communication anymore. What does violence look like? Attempting to control the other person, criticizing them, coercing them, cutting people off, overstating the facts, absolutes. You always, you never, you exaggerate what somebody's doing wrong, dominating the conversation, judging, belittling, threatening. We all know people in our lives, and maybe it's in the workplace, maybe it's in our personal lives, that are either silent communicators, violent communicators, that we just know we cannot have an effective communication with, right? This, you, pointing the finger, getting in your face, right? These are all examples of violent communication. And no effective exchange of ideas will happen. If you're recognizing yourself in any of these models, this is an opportunity just to have an honest conversation with yourself and say, could I be a more effective educator? Is my style getting in the way of my success as a unit peer leader or program manager, facility coordinator? We tend to shift goals when we're under stress. When we feel threatened, we tend to shift goals to self-protection, saving face, avoiding embarrassment, winning, or being right. It is a very threatening and vulnerable position to be wrong for some people. To be embarrassed by being something we've done wrong being pointed out. So we tend to shift our goals from really being honest and addressing the safety issue at hand to protecting ourselves. Well, nobody told me how to use that lift. Well, I wasn't at the training. My manager wouldn't let me go to the training. Well, I didn't have time. I didn't even have time to look at that. You know what? Do you have any idea how busy I am? We shift the focus to protect ourselves, right? Instead of just saying, yeah, I know, I need to use the lift. You know what? I know I've been busy, but I know this is important. Can we find a time to set this up? Yep, I made a mistake. Darn it, I should have used that lift. You know what? I can see what you're saying. That's a whole different story we're telling ourselves than just cutting somebody off and not addressing the issue. The cost of silence. According to research at VitalSmarts, 90% of people in organizations say nothing when they observe risky situations. We've seen this with hand washing. We've seen staff who are not providers or physicians feel like they cannot talk to a doctor about washing their hands if they observe a provider going in and out of a room without washing their hands. In the high reliability organization or industry of commercial aviation, when it comes to safety, anybody across the organization has the same weighting in their voice for safety. The person loading luggage onto the plane has equal weighting for a safety concern as the pilot of the plane. Now, I don't want the person loading the luggage flying the airplane, but if they see something that is not safe, their voice is no less listened to than the pilot or the CEO of the company. We know that when we don't address things, people will talk it out or act it out. That is the cost of silence. It's always one or the other. The silence might show up in complaining about work, covering up things that we've done, talking about somebody that we didn't have the courage or that they couldn't hear us because they go into violence or silence. and we can't figure out how to stay in that safety zone. Sometimes that person needs to hear the message from somebody other than us. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a failure. Doesn't mean they're a failure. It just means that maybe these two personalities, something has happened, or there's a conflict of personality, that the message needs to be heard from somebody else. That is a perfectly appropriate strategy to use if you can't stay in that safety zone. This is why people go to see counselors, couples. They can't have a conversation without going into the red zone. They need a third party to redirect them and help them recognize those behaviors in themselves. So let's do a quick knowledge check. All of the following, except for which answer, indicate that a conversation is crucial. A, the outcome of the conversation is very important. B, emotions are high. C, the parties have similar opinions about the issue. Or D, both parties feel strongly that they are right. The answer is B. If we have similar opinions, the conversation is not going to be conflicting and there's not going to be any crucial conversation needed. Effective communication rarely, if ever, happens when dialogue is occurring in the silent, violent zone. True or false? This is true. You are involved in a heated discussion with a coworker who's refusing to use equipment. They talk over you, they cut you off when you try to explain the importance. They are demonstrating which style of dialogue? Violence, helplessness, silence, or victim? If you answered A, violence, you were correct. We tend to justify our bad behavior or inaction. We tell ourselves stories. Remember in that dialogue box that there was the stories and the observations on each side, them and us? There are three types of stories we typically tell ourselves. Victim, it's not my fault. It's out of my control. They don't appreciate me. Villain, it's all your fault, your choices, your attributes. You are the problem. You, the person, are the problem, all embodied in the villain. Helplessness, there's nothing I can do about it. You've already made your mind up. Doesn't matter what I say. As a leader on your unit or on your program, understand the power that your voice has. And when you master these crucial conversations, what you can do with some of this conflict that you might be seeing on your unit or feeling on your unit or in your facility, there's a lot that you can do. And knowing your story and understanding that other people tell their own stories can help you be a more effective communicator. We can negotiate our stories from victim to action. What am I contributing to the problem? Am I exaggerating the role of others? Or should I own a little more of this than what I've been previously prepared to admit? From villain to human. Why would a rational, decent human being do what this person is doing right now? Replace judgment with empathy. Maybe their home situation is just in tatters right now, and they're barely holding on. Maybe they're dealing with grief or loss or a struggling relationship. Maybe they've just had a really bad day. They're having health problems. They're not feeling well. Maybe they're overwhelmed at work, right? If you can replace judgment with empathy, and words that I have found over and over and over again to help break through is, help me understand. Tell me what's going on. Take the time. You saw in that video with Jan when she didn't want to use the lift. Some of you might have been looking at your watches. It's about a 4-minute video. You may have been saying, man, I don't have time to do that kind of service recovery. I don't have time for that. You will spend the time now or later. If you can overcome this resistance and if you can take that time to understand, you will spend less time down the road dealing with the result of non-compliance or lack of understanding. You'll have better trust, better teamwork. From helpless to able, what do I really want? What would I do right now to achieve these results? What is one thing that I could do differently? The goal is always to speak honestly with care, empathy, and respect. Uncover the relevant information surrounding the possible adverse situation. Build trust and connection to try and advance towards the greater goal and purpose, which is the safety of caregivers, the safety and outcomes for our veterans who are trusting us every day with their care. So in summary, start with the heart. What do I want? Look for cues that this conversation might be crucial. Safety cues, recognize them. Look for your own style under stress. Make it safe. Identify the mutual purpose and mutual respect. Master your story. Watch for the victim, the villain, and the helplessness. Identify and modify your own emotion and separate fact from story. Seek to understand. Take the time, ask, mirror, paraphrase. Let me make sure I've understood you. Is this what you're saying? Prime if needed. Listen to the patient or your coworker or your manager or your unit peer leaders on the unit or your facility coordinator, program manager. Agree, build on your agreement, compare perspectives, back up until you can find common ground. Move to action. Decide how you will decide. Who will do what by when? You may agree to disagree in the moment. You might say, you know what, I think maybe now is not a good time to talk about this. Can we come back to it later? Let the emotions settle down and then talk about it rationally. Congratulations, you've successfully completed the module on crucial conversations and overcoming resistance. We hope the strategies and suggestions help you. You might come up with your own based on some of these ideas. You may look at the videos and say, I would never talk like that or act like that. But we hope that the message is clear, that by identifying your own style, by identifying when you can see these conversations and these conflict scenarios being set up, and some strategies to overcome them, we hope that you will find your own ways of saying things, of setting things up, so that you can be as successful as possible in your role. Thank you for your service to help give back to those who have served us.